He was duped into handing over his money right over the phone, and she was convinced to invest over $7 million with her so-called friend. Let's get right into these scammed celebrities. Number 5. Matched Up. In September 2022, British soap star Adam Rickett was scammed out of tens of thousands of pounds after a fake call came from Barclay's fraud team. Adam Rickett is a British actor, singer, and model. He rose to fame in the 1990s when he played Nick Tilsley in the popular soap opera Coronation Street. The scam was an APP, which stands for an Authorized Push Payment. An APP is when someone is tricked into transferring money from their bank account to a scammer's. Criminals often pose as organizations that the victims can trust, like government bodies or other banks. APPs are becoming too familiar worldwide, particularly in the UK. These scams are now a massive threat to businesses and consumers. It's also becoming more sophisticated, where the scams are so convincing that people willingly transfer money without giving it a second thought. Impersonation scams accounted for 40% of APP frauds. British businesses and consumers dealt with a 39% increase in APP losses in 2021. Adam fell victim to this APP when Barclay's bank texted him to inform him that there was suspicious activity on his account. After being informed that their fraud department would call him, he confidently answered his phone to talk to Martin, who he believed worked for Barclays. The 0845 number that called Adam matched the fraud number on Barclay's website. Martin asked Adam the security questions associated with Adam's account. With no reason to be suspicious, Adam answered them all. Adam was shocked when Martin told him someone pretended to be him at one of his local branches in Crewe, Cheshire. The imposter tried to withdraw money, which Martin claimed would have only been possible if the person had Adam's ID and signature. Martin then stated that the person in the Crewe branch had Adam's driving license and passport. Adam put Martin on hold and called his wife, who confirmed that his driving license and passport were at their home and were not stolen. Petrified and confused, Adam turned to Martin for answers, but all he said was he would call him back. Initially, everything was normal when he checked his bank account online. Then he received another call with more details about the alleged crime. The fraud department told him it was probably an inside job, as they'd reviewed security footage of a young male who was seen talking to the bank teller and never appeared to hand over his passport. Another reason that Martin gave Adam for it being an inside job was that there wouldn't be just two people involved when there was an attempt to withdraw such a large amount of funds. Barclays should have sent Adam a notification questioning the transaction, and they alleged to be concerned that Adam didn't appear to be receiving anything. The bank recommended that he make a dummy payment in his account so that he could trigger a member of the fraud department, but the already panicked actor didn't want to. His other option was to shut down the account, but when he got back online to check it, he discovered that all his money was gone. A humiliated Adam shared his story on Twitter, @AdamRickett, to raise awareness of the scam. He told the world about how he spoke to fraudsters pretending to be Barclays Bank and how he had no reason to doubt them when they called with such a probable story. While he could talk about what happened to him, he was at a loss when it came to giving others advice to avoid the same thing happening to them. He followed the advice of an institution he trusted, but he made it clear that people must always be cautious. Adam was convinced people would laugh at him for readily giving away his information, but after hearing his story, it was clear to his followers that sophisticated scams like this could happen to anyone. Number 4. Hustling Sharks. In early 2020, Barbara Corcoran lost almost $400,000 after scammers used a typo in an email chain to access a wire payment sent on her behalf. Barbara's bookkeeper, Christine, received an email from Emily, Barbara's executive assistant, that stated Christine needed to pay $388,700.11 to FFH Concept GmbH, a German company. However, Emily never sent that email. Scammers removed one letter from Emily's email address and used this to gain access to Barbara's closest employees. Many people know Barbara Corcoran as an investor on Shark Tank, but that only tells a bit of her story. She founded the Corcoran Group company while she worked at a New Jersey diner, where she had to work 18-hour days to gain capital for the business. Being a self-made millionaire hasn't been easy, and her experience led to her wanting to serve as a mentor to entrepreneurs worldwide. As one of Shark Tank's original investors, she has appeared in all 13 seasons. Corcoran was the victim of a business email compromise scam, also referred to as a BEC. This happens when scammers compromise a company's email accounts and use them to access transfers or funds. BECs are becoming common, with the FBI's 2019 Internet Crime Report saying that companies and individuals lost up to $1.7 billion in scams like this. For Corcoran, the scam was so believable that she even referred to it as clever when she spoke to CNBC Make It. As a real estate investor, it's normal for Corcoran to pay for renovations in her buildings. Therefore, Christine wasn't suspicious when Emily requested the wire transfer for renovations to some of Barbara's German properties, and it never occurred to her to double-check Emily's email. Before she sent the wire transfer, Christine asked some standard questions, ensuring that she understood the purpose of the money before doing anything. The money was for FFH Concept GmbH, and the bank details were for GLS, Gemeinschaftsbank EG, both legitimate companies in Germany. With no reason to be suspicious, Christine sent the wire transfer. Later in the day, Christine went to email Emily and realized that her email address was different from the one she had communicated with earlier that day. Emily looked back on Christine's email correspondence with the scammers and found that the scammers altered her email address. Once they uncovered the hoax, they put Barbara's IT in charge of tracing the scammers' IP addresses. Soon, IT discovered that the scammers were from China, not Germany. It only took 3 days for the money to return to her bank account. The German bank that the scammers used learned about the hoax and froze the money before it could go any further. She believes that the media attention that the scam got and pressure from her New York bank to the German bank is why she got it back so quickly. All it took for the ordeal to play out was a discreet typo in an email, which few people verify when they receive an email from a coworker. Number 3. Scamming Saints. Legendary former New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees and his wife Brittany filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against a San Diego jeweler, Vahid Moradi, after being misled into investing millions of dollars in diamonds that they later learned were severely overpriced. Drew and his wife saw an investment opportunity in the diamonds sold by Vahid Moradi, owner of C.J. Charles Jewelers. Vahid even told them that they should expect the diamonds to appreciate up to 200%, making it an exciting opportunity for the couple who wanted to set up a steady income for Drew's eventual retirement. The purchases spanned over 4 years, from 2012 to 2016. Vahid and Drew's relationship began in 2003 when Drew began shopping at Moradi's store. Brees and his wife became long-term customers of Vahid's and would buy watches, jewels, and diamonds from him. They formed a strong friendship and invited each other to family gatherings and charitable events. The filing also alleged that Vahid's prices increased as the Breezes and Vahid grew closer. Between 2008 and 2009, Moradi brought their attention to the benefits of investing in colored diamonds. With little knowledge of the industry, Breeze trusted his friend. Later, he would claim that Moradi masqueraded as an expert in investment-grade diamonds. Between 2012 and 2016, the couple bought $15 million worth of jewelry from Vahid, including an $8 million diamond ring. It wasn't until 2017, when he met with an independent appraiser, that he found out how much money he lost in the investments. The appraiser delivered the unfortunate news that Vahid overestimated the value of the Breeze's investments by $7 million, and the ring that Breeze thought cost $8 million was only worth $3.75 million. At the center of the lawsuit were 8 items the couple claimed were worth $9 million less than what they paid. These were the items they had individually appraised and became the catalyst for the lawsuit. Vahid told a different tale, claiming that the couple wanted a refund on their investment because it didn't appreciate in the way they wanted. Eric George, Moradi's lawyer, made a statement that highlighted Drew's brash behavior when it came to obtaining refunds for his large purchases. George alleged that the independent appraiser that the couple saw was the one that misled them by telling them that their items were worth less than they paid Vahid. While the couple accused Moradi of marking up the pieces they purchased from him, Moradi claimed his markups to be within the normal range for his industry, while in the suit, Breeze's attorney accused Vahid of being misleading in the diamond's values. Since jewelers handle markups at their discretion, nothing stopped him from charging the high amounts he did. Legally, the jewelry industry is complicated. The market fluctuates unpredictably, but the issue of appraisals is also vital to address. Often done for insurance purposes, there might be guidelines when performing them, but that doesn't mean that every appraiser is guaranteed to land on the same number when determining the value. In this case, Vahid's role changed from jeweler to investment advisor when he started to make claims about the eventual appreciation of the stones. Drew and Brittany needed to understand the intricacies of investing in diamonds. Unlike gold, diamonds don't have universal prices per gram. Without strong industry knowledge, they leaned on Vahid to help them pick the diamonds that would make the best investments rather than deciding for themselves. The jury ultimately voted in favor of the couple and awarded them $6.1 million. Vahid was ruled against as the jury believed he committed a breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duty, and 2 counts of fraud. Vahid originally planned on appealing the ruling, maintaining that he didn't commit fraud or mislead Drew and Brittany. If the judge granted his appeal, the couple might have been asked to return the money. In October 2019, Vahid dropped his appeal, and in November, the Brees' settlement money was increased to $10.3 million to account for legal fees and interest on the judgment. There doesn't appear to be bad blood between either party, with Brees' lawyer making it clear that they reached an amicable solution of their disputes. Number 2. Unfriended. In 2013, 28-year-old Andre C. Hicks was found guilty of obtaining $2.3 million by defrauding investors through a fraudulent hedge fund investment scheme from March 2011 to October 2011. He misled investors by lying about his experience and background and used that deception to steal roughly $2 million. Investors believed that Andre had 2 degrees from Harvard University and thought that he was qualified because he claimed that he used to work for Barclay's Capital as a hedge fund manager. He used his lies to get people to invest in Locust Offshore Management, his fake hedge fund. When hedge funds lost 5% of their trading profit that year, Andre claimed that Locust Offshore Management earned an 80% profit. 10 people invested in Andre's alleged hedge fund, but he never utilized the funds for their intended purpose. Instead, he used them for personal reasons and to fund his lavish lifestyle. Kris Humphries, basketball player and ex-husband to Kim Kardashian, was one of the people that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars due to Andre's deception. Andre and Kris had a personal relationship, and he even attended the basketball player's 2011 rehearsal dinner and wedding to Kim Kardashian. Not only did Andre con Kris into investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into his hedge fund, but he also claimed to have an affair with Kim Kardashian when she was engaged to Kris Humphries. Andre sent an email to a website that he alleged was written by Kim, where she supposedly wrote about her relationship with Hicks. The email claimed that the two were intimate in Monaco before the wedding and expressed her remorse. Kim and her lawyer, Marty Singer, vehemently denied these claims and penned a letter where they called Hicks a swindling convict and a liar. He dismissed the email as fake and swore she never wrote it. Singer took it a step further, threatening to make Andre take a lie detector test if he kept lying about the affair. Andre's lies were exposed in court when the jury learned that he dropped out of Harvard after 3 semesters. He let people believe that he developed his mathematical models to aid his investing style, only for the public to find out that he got a D in the only math course he took. Andre also never managed a hedge fund at Barclay's Capital. Everything he told investors was a lie, and their money never went towards investments. He used it for himself instead. In 2013, Andre was sentenced to 40 months in prison by U.S. federal judge Patty Sayers. He was also ordered to pay $2.3 million in restitution. Number 1. No trust. California conman Troy Stratos stole $30 million from multiple people. He performed such elaborate fraudulent schemes that it took years and an FBI investigation to expose him. After her 2006 divorce from actor Eddie Murphy, Nicole Murphy gained a hefty settlement of $15 million, but instead she handed $7 million right over to Troy. As a successful businessman who earned his fortune from oil investment, Troy stepped forward and said he would take control of her portion of the proceeds in the divorce. He persuaded her to let him manage not just her money, but also real estate in her name and jewelry. Nicole and Troy had been friends since they were teenagers, and at the time, she could see no reason not to trust him. The money was supposed to be invested overseas in countries such as Dubai and the United Emirates, where her proceeds would earn a high rate of return. He also promised to pay her expenses since all her money was now overseas. Everything that Troy promised to Nicole was a lie. He never invested her money overseas. Instead, he diverted it to his account for personal use to fund his extravagant lifestyle. Rather than using his own money for her expenses as he promised, he used portions of the money she initially gave him. Between February 2007 and April 2007, Troy's bookkeeper received a subpoena that demanded access to some of his various financial records and included documents about Troy's spending spree in Las Vegas, where he might have used Nicole's money. He forced his bookkeeper to withhold records. Unfortunately, Nicole wasn't Troy's only victim. From December 2010 to February 2012, Troy began his next scheme. By this point, his name had too many negative postings on the internet for people to trust him. He developed the alias Ken Dennis and began working with his next victim, Tim Burns. Tim was a financial manager in Pennsylvania, and investors trusted him with their money. Some of his clients were interested in Facebook stock, and Troy offered to help. Troy claimed to represent Carlos Slim, one of the wealthiest people in the world, worth up to $62 billion. He claimed that Carlos was interested in purchasing a large amount of Facebook shares and said he could sell Tim favorably priced shares in excess of Carlos Slim's purchases. As well as touting his relationship with Carlos Slim, Troy boasted his connections with Facebook insiders, including creator and CEO Mark Zuckerberg and the company's CFO. He alleged that there would be access to more significant amount of stock in Facebook, starting at 2 million shares and going up to 40 million. Troy gained Tim's trust, and Burns sent $11,250,000 in wire transfers to purchase the stock. Tim sent the first transfer to Venable LLP, the law firm that Stratos retained. The other 2 transfers went to accounts that Troy controlled. However, Tim grew impatient when the deal didn't close. Troy kept promising that the papers would be signed any minute. While he offered Tim a refund, he emphasized that it would be a huge mistake, as he would always regret giving up the opportunity to make money off the shares. Troy was arrested by the FBI on December 20th, 2011 for his fraud scheme against Nicole Myers. Even then, he didn't let that stop him from communicating with Tim, still trying to convince him through text and phone calls that their deal would go through soon. In December 2016, Troy was sentenced by the United States District Judge Troy L. Nunley to 21 years and 10 months in prison. He was charged with multiple counts of money laundering, wire fraud, mail fraud, and obstruction of justice. U.S. Attorney Talbert referred to Troy's schemes as staggering in their scope and audacity, saying that Troy preyed upon his victims to satisfy his own voracious greed and desire for a lavish lifestyle. Special Agent in Charge Monica M. Miller of the FBI's Sacramento field office stated that despite the complexity of his lies to conceal his schemes, Troy Stratos is, quite simply, a common con artist. She also clarified that the FBI will identify and investigate individuals who perpetrate such large-scale fraud to ensure they face justice for their crimes. The court justified the harshness of his sentence by the trauma inflicted on the victims. The FBI investigation on Troy found that he fraudulently obtained roughly $43 million beginning in 1996 and ending with his arrest in 2011. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section who's the one celebrity you'd love to see scammed.